Archer.
Hey, Sarah.
It's so good to talk to you again.
So good to talk to you.
This might be maybe the most random mashup of topics. I don't know. We're going to talk Plathville today and Gypsy Rose. So maybe the theme is just bad moms.
Two of my favorite shows.
Yeah. Hot topic. And so you recapped Life After Lockup, Gypsy Rose, and you're recapping Welcome to Plathville. So
yes.
If you guys are looking for recap content, Little Miss Recap has your back. Check it out wherever you get podcasts.
Thank you.
I did not religiously watch Life After Lockup. I did watch Prison Confessions. I've seen Mommy Dead and Dearest. I have a lot of thought. I've watched a lot of content creators commenting on the show. I made a video about Gypsy Rose on my Sarah Spills channel. I am so excited to dive in because this is messy AF.
It is messy. And I did not watch Mommy Dead. I am late to the Gypsy Rose train. I had no idea what was going. I knew it was Munchausen by proxy. I knew that she, I knew the basics of the case.
Right.
And then suddenly I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should cover the documentary, Mommy Dead and Dearest. And I was like, phew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this you, John Bonet?
Oh my God.
John Bonet is John Bonet.
Is this my John Bonet? You know what? Maybe. Because here's the thing. I have a lot of empathy for Gypsy Rose. I know that's kind of a different take than a lot of people have about her right now.
On it all because there are so many layers to the story, which makes it so fascinating.
Yeah. But then we started watching Gypsy Rose Love After Lockup, and I fell madly in love with Rod Blanchard. Yes. And then, so now I'm going to go back and do Prison Confession. So we're going to start that this month because I didn't see that one. I didn't see that iteration of the Gypsy Rose saga.
Right. It's just so wild to me because the thing that has, let's just start off with Gypsy Rose.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Okay. What has kind of been fascinating to me is I feel like typically in this country, when most people think you did a crime and let's say you get off, a la O.J. Simpson, Casey Anthony, something like that. The expectation is that you're kind of gonna slink off into obscurity. You're gonna live a quiet life.
Which O.J. did not.
True. That is true. But it's kind of like, we don't want to hear from you. And now Casey Anthony has even resurfaced with her own docuseries. And I've seen
Scott Peterson's doing it too, although he's guilty, but he's resurfacing as well.
Yeah. And so this is kind of fascinating to me. So Gypsy Rose pled guilty. She went to prison for 8 or 9 years. She got paroled. And she's still a young person. She's younger than I am. She's, I think, in her early 30s.
She's 32 when she got released. Yeah.
Yeah. So she has her whole life ahead of her. And now it's the public is we can't get enough. What are your thoughts on that? On this prison to influencer pipeline?
Well, I think, part of what people love about Gypsy Rose is that she is controversial. Yeah. So there is that camp that is solidified in their position of she's a monster. She was complicit in the murder. She should be in jail. This is not fair. And then there's that other camp that's she was a victim of her mother. And, we want to root for her. We want to see her do well. But I really think the answer is somewhere in between.
Yes. I think as it so often is, it's usually not one or the other.
Right. I think we need to take the way that I look at it is more nuanced in that this girl from very early on was abused by her mother. So she doesn't, is she making terrible mistakes? Of course she is. Anybody would who didn't have that solid base foundation of knowing right from wrong and knowing, feeling love and feeling securely attached. She's out there being a fool. And we expect that.
The crime happened when she was 23.
Yes.
And I have watched Love After Lockup and funnily enough, Life After Lockup, same name, different show.
Of course.
And so often we see, especially these young people that have gone to prison and served a lengthy prison sentence, they're often like mentally the age that they were when they went in. And so it's interesting. I think we are looking at a person. I made stupid decisions in my early 20s, and I'm glad that they're not documented for a reality show. Right. So some of this, I'm like, okay, to be expected. But some people are of the thought that Gypsy just learned how to be a really good scammer from her mom, and that's all we're seeing.
But I think there is some truth to that, in that she probably did learn how to manipulate.
Okay.
But that was like a language that her mother spoke that she just probably absorbed. But I think she knows that that's wrong. You know what I mean? And I think that she tries to fight against that, but that might be in her a little bit. Just like, you know, if you pass down trauma, like Dee Dee passed down certain traits to Gypsy. And Gypsy, I think, is doing a really good job of deconstructing what has happened to her. Thankfully, she's in therapy. I think she said that's part of her parole. She has to be in therapy.
Well, that's good. That's a good parole condition.
Yeah.
I've seen some videos out there where it's like, is Gypsy going back to the slammer of violating parole and all this stuff? So it's like, I hope that's not part of it. But I mean,
I keep coming back to this. For people who think that Gypsy was like part of this, they took her teeth out of her mouth.
No one's gonna willingly part with their teeth.
No.
Their
salivary glands they took out. Like, this girl had a feeding tube. You know, I have my stepmother is ill and she has a feeding tube. It is not fun. It is not pleasant. No. It's extremely painful. Like, I just think that people who think Gypsy was in on this don't really understand the medical procedures that were done to this girl. And in all fairness, I think the media, we tend to gloss over that a little bit. But I recommend highly, if anybody forgot what happened to this girl, to go back and watch Mommy Dead Dearest, because
it's bad to me that people are seemingly, as so often that we do in society, we become very polarized. Like talk to Karen Reed. I'm very of one opinion about this, but there's not a lot of people out there with the Karen Reed trial that are like, I kind of see both sides. You know, there are those people, but there's few and far between. With Gypsy, it's similar. There's people that are like, she was horribly abused. Like, what do you expect? And then there's people who are like, she is a co-conspirator. Like,
yeah. I just think if you grow up with, especially her situation where she had a single mother, essentially, right? I mean, Rod says he was in the picture. Maybe he was. I don't know to what extent.
Right. Like, he didn't really surface until she went to prison, right?
So she's being raised by this single parent who, when you're raised by a single mother, that person is your world, right? And this person hurts her.
Right.
So, like, how do you reconcile those two things? How does that give you a basis for what's normal in life and what love looks like?
Right. And we're going to talk about the Plaths who equally learned really messed up life lessons about love and, you know, what a parent-child relationship should look like. You can have messed up familial relationships in lots of different ways, as we see here.
And a lot of people can overcome that. A lot of people can.
Yes.
But this was lifelong. I mean, this was from the time she was a little kid. This can take decades of undoing.
And instead of saying, hey, what happened to you was really messed up, let's work on that, it was, hey, what happened to you was really messed up. Then this really messed up thing happened, which I don't know how much her involvement, I mean, that's a discussion to have. And now you have to go to prison, which in my opinion, rehabilitation in prison, I don't know if that's really a thing. So are you learning? If you weren't, I have always said, if you weren't a criminal going into prison, you're sure going to be one when you come out. So, so did Gypsy just hone her skills while she was in there? Like,
I don't know.
Because
look, she's not making good decisions. I mean, this whole Ryan and Kian thing is just.
We have the paternity scandal of the century on our hands.
What are you thinking? Who is the father of the baby?
I am I am just cynical enough to think that Ryan is
Ugh.
it lines up just so I wanted to get your take because I've watched several content creators. I watch Kyla on YouTube and
Mhm.
she has recapped Life After Lockup and she started out thinking Ryan was like kind of creepy, kind of
Mhm.
weird. And then she's like like after the finale like if he changed some of his behaviors, he wouldn't be like all that bad. What are your thoughts on Ryan? Is he
Oh, I
creepy?
think he's a total creep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a total creep. I think he keeps doing these lives and dragging this all up again so that somebody will slide into his DMs. And the minute that happens, he won't even give a shit about this anymore. Like he'll just be off and running. But I think he's a creep. Um, do I think that he had bad intentions towards her? No, I don't.
Okay.
I think he did love her. You know what I mean? But I think he also loved what came with her, like the notoriety, the popularity.
It seems like a lot of people in Gypsy's orbit are loving the attention that comes with being around Gypsy. Because I need your thoughts on Christy. What are your thoughts?
Christy and Rod, I'm telling you, I could watch 17 seasons of these two because I love Rod so much. And
Right.
Rod seems to have this ability to self reflect and he's an inward thinker, right? Where Christy, I mean, I thought he was going to go after her a couple times because she is just. And Mia, the sister, is
Mhm.
the voice of reason in the
I was
entire show.
how did Mia come out of all of this?
I think Mia's great because, yeah, I agree. Because Mia's like, Mom, you are facilitating this whole reunion with Ken.
Yes.
Anything that happens with Ken, you're responsible for, and you're breaking up this marriage. And Rod is kind of like, Christy, we have to let this play out.
Right.
Like, you have to let Gypsy. Rod is very into making sure Gypsy Rose has autonomy because he knows she never had it.
Yeah.
So he's always like, look, she's going to make stupid decisions. She's going to fall flat on her face. We just need to live with the results of that and to help her through it. Whereas Christy's trying to move the chess pieces.
Okay. Yes.
And I think Christy has a crush on Ken.
A little bit. I mean, so it's so interesting watching this love triangle kind of play out
I know.
on social media. It's like I feel like such a lurker, like a peeping Tom almost. Cause like anytime I get an alert on TikTok that Gypsy's going live, I'm like, oh, there I am.
Well, and I love people who are like, she should get a job. Like, what is Gypsy Rose gonna do? Work at Burger King?
And honestly, I don't hate her for going live. If she can, I don't begrudge anybody making money as a social media influencer. If you don't like it, just
she has
don't
zero life skills. She is. If she set up shop at Old Navy, if she's like, I'm going to be a clerk at Old Navy, the paparazzi'd be there constantly. Like she can't have a normal job.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe she could work from home and do telesales.
Sure. The one thing I will say is that watching like Prison Confessions, her whole shtick for, when I get out of prison, I'm going to do all this advocacy work. I don't think she's really, I haven't really seen much of that. I heard Kardashians, but
I heard an interesting take about that.
Okay.
I forget who said this, and I wish I remembered so I could give them credit. Maybe it was Jody and Amanda at We Love to Hate Everything. I can't remember.
Okay.
But one of them said the crux with like the problem with Munchausen by proxy is that you usually don't know that somebody is a victim until they're an adult. So like it's hard to be an advocate for children of Munchausen by proxy and to actually stop what's happening because the parents are in such control that the victims aren't usually very obvious or noticeable. So I don't know what her plan is here. Like, is her plan maybe to help Munchausen survivors on the other end of it? Or is her plan to try to prevent Munchausen by, or to educate the public about Munchausen by proxy? I don't know.
Yeah. And it's so
she could be doing more though, is my point.
She could be parlaying her Insta celebrity status
into an educational situation,
into like motivational speaking or something. I mean, she doesn't have to.
No, she doesn't have to.
She could. Will I watch either way? Probably. I mean,
and don't forget too, like you brought up a good point. She is emotionally still, I would argue, even a teenager, earlier than when she went in prison because of what happened to her growing up.
That's an excellent point. Like, she's not a typical 23-year-old either.
No. So she could, like, after she has kids and her life settles down a little bit, I could see her maturing in later age and being like, okay, I'm going to bring awareness to Munchausen or whatever. But I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. This is all new to her, and she is diving in.
Well, so I was watching, a lot of people had recommended the creator Becca Scoops to me. She's very, like her vantage point is she thinks that Gypsy is a master manipulator.
Yeah.
So that's kind of take that with a grain of salt. But I watched this video yesterday about like the timeline of Dee Dee's murder. And there were all these messages back and forth between Gypsy and Nick about getting pregnant or trying to get pregnant.
Gypsy and Nick?
Yeah. So Nick was under the impression that Gypsy like lost a pregnancy when she went to prison. And it seems like Gypsy has been trying to get pregnant for a really long time.
Yeah, she's not making good decisions. Yeah. Again, she is literally broken. Like, I don't know how you would make good decisions.
Right.
I think Rod is trying to put some kind of guardrails around this to be like, okay, you're gonna be a total disaster.
Right.
But can you be a total disaster within these parameters? But then there are people who are like, they just seem so vested in proving that she like is some kind of master criminal. And I just don't see that. I mean, I could be wrong.
Right.
Maybe she'll slaughter her entire family. I hope not. But I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that she even had to call Nick in to murder Dee Dee, like she couldn't even do it herself.
Right.
And people are like, well, she should have tried to escape. She did. She did try to escape. And they kept bringing her back.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. It does. Look, it's just my opinion. I don't think she's some master criminal, but we'll see how this plays out.
I mean, it seems like she's not going to shy away from putting her life on TV. So we will see.
We will see. I mean, she's going to murder and then like live stream it. If she murders somebody, she'd live stream it.
If anyone would, she would. It's like that. Remember that doc, like "Don't Fuck with Cats"?
Yes.
And then how like the whole internet came together and like that is one of my. I mean,
I love that.
Watch it if you're squeamish about animal abuse because that's a tough watch. But the way that the whole internet came together,
watch it if you like a bunch of cat ladies taking somebody down because that's what happens.
Like justice for cat ladies.
Yes.
Will not pull one over on us.
Yeah, it was great.
Do you think Rod and Christy's marriage survives all of this? Because this is a lot.
The only reason I say yes is because they're real into Jesus. So I can't see either one of them believing in divorce. Really?
Okay.
So I
maybe
don't know. They're like
Cody Mary route and just
just float away from each other.
Couple, but still torment each other, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I have a suspicion that Rod would do just fine if they got divorced, that his DMs would be on fire.
Yes.
But I don't know. He's got to rein Christy in though. She's got to calm down a little bit.
She's gotten it seems like she's gotten a taste for attention at least. And
so there's this scene where Kin comes to visit and they hug. Okay. So Christy hasn't seen Ken yet and they hug and he goes, "Oh, your hair looks great," or something like that. And she goes, "You smell good."
Oh,
now I have a lot of my daughters are dating. My daughters are almost 18. I have a lot of young men in the house.
Yes.
Some I might even hug that I've known them since they were little kids. I would never tell one of them they smell great.
Yeah. I might tell one they smelled bad if they, they just played a football game and it's like, oh, you're ripe or something. But yeah, that's.
So I have a theory that Christy, because we know she doesn't like a boundary. I have a theory she has a little crush on Ken.
Okay. And I mean, there's going to be Life After Lockup 2.0, of course.
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, we have to see who the father is because thankfully there will be a paternity test. Because,
right. I guess there has to be, right?
Right. So thank God that she's still legally married. And in order to legally to say like Ken's the father, that she has to do a paternity test.
Yeah.
Just take her word for it. So and I hope that Maury Povich results.
yes, that would be amazing.
If you can make that happen.
Yeah. Let's go to Maury Povich. Let's not go Dr. Phil. Let's bring in Maury Povich and have him read the results.
He's much more palatable for a lot of people.
I agree.
Dr. Phil is a hot mess a lot of the time.
Yeah. Another gift from Oprah. Thanks, Oprah. Gift that keeps on giving. Love her, but girl's got a bad picker like I do. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because she brought us Dr. Oz too, right? Okay. Yeah. It's all fine and dandy until people start opening up a little too much about their thoughts on other things.
Yes.
When stay in their lane.
Stay in your lane. Yep. Yeah.
Let's chat about Plathville because I have been a watcher since day one. Have you?
Oh, yes.
You're the one. Okay.
Yeah. So I used to, I still do actually, co-host on Pink Shade with Mary Payne.
Yes.
And so I covered, I think seasons like 4 and 5 over there with her. And then we're doing 6 on Little Miss Recap. And but I also watched 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
It's the best reality show. It is so good. I'm loving it. I always have loved it though.
It is astonishing how quickly reality TV tore this family apart. Do you think it was reality TV or do you think it was Kim? I guess that's a question to ponder.
I think it was both. I think that Kim was the one who sought out the show.
Of course. Yeah.
And she thought that her kids were gonna they were gonna be the next Partridge Family. Current reference.
That's what she wanted for sure. She wanted to be the Partridge Family.
Yeah. And I think that she got a little taste of this and it went right. I do not think Olivia tore apart the family. I think Kim tore apart the family.
Yes, I do see similarities though between Olivia and Kim. We'll touch on that.
Yeah.
I'm finding Olivia a lot more likable this season.
I've always been team Olivia.
Okay. It's so I've never really felt strongly about Olivia the way a lot of people have. She did annoy me a few times because I felt like she expected Micah, Mariah, and Ethan to all be on her level as far as like rejecting the way they grew up when they clearly weren't there yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a justice for Olivia's season, and I feel like that is well earned on her part for sure.
Yeah, and I think Kim is a terrible mother.
Terrible person.
I think Kim wanted this lifestyle and she forced it on her children. She withheld education from them. She did not encourage them to broaden their worlds and their horizons and to seek out knowledge in the world. And that to me is the greatest crime she's ever committed. We see that Mariah wanted to go to college. And here's the worst part. Kim did all that. So Kim can sit there with her Bachelor of Fine Arts or whatever the hell she has. And, oh, my partying past and all my life experiences and the sorority I was in and but I'm withholding it from all of my children.
Yeah, I remember I watched a little bit of season 1, episode 1 a week or so ago. And Barry is sitting there talking about how it's so funny that his kids don't know who like celebrities are. His kids have never had sugar. They have honey. They've never had soda. And then he's talking about how he used to drink Mountain Dew by the bucket load.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so fucked up.
Well, and it's so fucked up when you think about it too, through the lens of, okay, so we don't want any outside influences or anything that's bad for our kids in, but I'm going to put them on a television show.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like that, it's so weird to me what her thinking is. And we know that the kids all raised themselves. So those older kids were parentified. Lydia certainly is parentified. She's like
Lydia
Barry's new wife. I don't know what's happening there.
is like, what is she, 19 going on 50? Like,
Yeah, she's like 107. She just has like the Miss Beadle school marm look all the time. And
yeah.
then Ethan is so broken. I mean,
Oh,
he can't even, for a long time, I was such a believer in Ethan and Olivia's love. And I thought that she could get him. But you're right. And I think Olivia will even admit that she pushed too hard sometimes.
Mhm.
And maybe that's what really caused the rift between them. But
Olivia's really self-reflective, and I appreciate that.
She's amazing.
Yeah. I feel like Ethan at any moment could snap, and I'm kind of afraid to see what that looks like, because
there's something kind of hot about Ethan to me. I'm not gonna lie. Then he comes out with that 3 list thing, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw, Olivia's been doing a lot of interviews lately, and she's talked about the list of demands that he gave her.
I saw an Instagram story reposted, and I was like, ugh.
They're not good. They're not good.
So essentially what she revealed was that, so Ethan had these hard lines, like, we can have kids, we can live happily ever after if you meet A, B, C requirement. And one of those requirements was, if we have a kid who is of the LGBT community, we have to disown them. And
never gonna happen. Olivia is never gonna abandon her child.
No.
Period.
And so Olivia was like, you know what? And that's when I realized we can't just have different political opinions. Like, you actually want to suppress people's human rights. That's messed up. I'm not down with that.
Yeah. And I think too, like, the other conditions were that she had to be a conservative Republican, which you can't dictate somebody's political view.
No.
And the other thing was that she had to like return to the church. And she was like,
she has a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
About her upbringing, and so that's like, you have to return to your abuser.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know?
And I'll never forget in season 5 when she said to him, like, you want me to return to a system that works for you. Right. You like the system because it works for you. It's kind of this whole like throwback to making America great again, right? The system that worked for a certain class of people in this country didn't work for everybody.
Right.
So, he wants to go back there, and she's not going to. And I just love her. I love her. I love her. I love her.
I was shocked and taken aback for a second. I guess maybe I forget how old I am or how young these people are. I don't know which it is, but when Olivia said in episode 3 that she's 25, I was like, girl, you have been through it.
I know.
For 25, you are getting out of a 5-year marriage. You have you know how to milk a cow. Like, you have all this trauma. Can we talk about the fact that she brought fresh mozzarella cheese in her purse to a
I hope she had that on ice. Because what is it? Like, I'm thinking she brought it in a Lunchable container with some ice. I was
down with the book. I was down with the toilet spray. I was even down with the apple, because sure, why not?
Sure.
She talked about like fresh cheese. I'm like, girl, why?
No. And then you're going to a bar an Arizona bar in the middle of the day.
Right.
No.
It was like 2 in the afternoon.
And it was like a strip mall bar in the middle of the day. No.
Yeah.
No.
She
doesn't know how to date. These kids have no life skills.
She wore her best businesswoman special.
I was calling it
she got a little Romeo and Michelle.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Did you ever see Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead with Christina Applegate?
Yes.
When she gets the job.
Yes.
And she has to wear like the blazer and stuff. That's what I was calling her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was like, Olivia, tell me how you invented Post-its. I'm ready.
Yes.
It was such a look. And I was like, girl, I love it.
What are you thinking of? How do you feel about the Barry redemption arc? Like, suddenly Barry is dad of the year.
I hate it. I hate any chance of redemption for Barry and Kim. I think they both
Yeah.
equally suck. Obviously, Barry sucks less in the eyes of his kids because at least the older kids are actually willing to be around him. But
Mhm.
yeah, he's trying to be in his Zaddy era. And then he opens his mouth and does like a cartoon impression. And I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No. Mm-mm.
but you and Amanda talked about a really good point on your I just listened to your recap of episode 3 of Plathville.
Mhm.
Like, lest we forget, because clearly Mariah and Micah have does Mariah not remember that she was literally kicked out of the house?
I know.
And you brought that up and I was
Yep.
like, I'm putting away laundry and I'm like, yes, take us to
she
church.
was thrown out of the house. And so the reason that Mariah and Micah have anything good in their lives is because of Olivia. And let us never forget that. Olivia literally took Mariah in, gave her a place to live, showed her how to use a computer, set up her Spotify account, had her meet with producers to record her music. Like Olivia did every single thing for Mariah. And every time Mariah gets a download on that stupid circus song, ironically, which is about Olivia, she has Olivia to thank for it. The fact that they have left Cairo, Georgia, the fact that Micah got to fuck around in Beverly Hills for a year and be a model,
right?
All due to Olivia.
Right.
All due to Olivia. Yep.
The fact that Mariah gets to go and sing secular music. But Kim's out here getting DUIs, which we're never going to talk about on the show.
Yes. Yep. And she's living in a houseboat with Darth Vader.
Oh my God.
Well, she lives with Ken.
That's what I've heard. And I totally believe that because first of all, you can tell that Kim has no relationship with her kids because Micah and Mariah had never been to the boat. Then Ethan is talking about all the last times interactions he's had with his mom, and they've all been on camera.
Yeah, and he basically says at one point, I don't know if it's this episode or the upcoming episode, but he pretty much says, like, mom doesn't know how to feel. Mom doesn't feel anything.
And then he's like, I'm kind of the same way. I was like,
yeah, he is the same way.
Yeah.
Ethan, I went on a real journey with Ethan because, like I said, he reminds me so much of my husband in so many ways. Like, my husband just is so mechanically inclined. And so, like, they just have a lot of similarities, which is interesting. But my husband knows how to talk to people.
Yes.
And like knows how to feel emotions and express them because he had a mother who taught him that. Like this, Ethan he's so closed, but I don't know if he is ever going to be able to. So Mariah has come back into the fold, which Kim sees as a victory that these kids have all come back home with their tail between their legs. And if you're a parent, that's not a victory.
No, I moved back home at 20. I think I was 27.
Yeah.
And my parents did not see that as a victory.
No, it's not a victory. Like don't get me wrong. It's right. It's like, I'll help you get back on your feet.
And
but it is not generally considered a victory if your kids come back home because they're broken.
When you launch your kids, you're hoping you launch your kids, right?
But this is how fucked up Kim is. Like, it's a victory because, she's won. Like, she thinks she has won over Olivia. And that drives me insane.
Because the way they grew up is slightly better than being homeless.
Yeah.
She considers that a victory. What was shocking to me, and then it's like, dude, I wish, go back, become McKelty, go back and do a reaction to the early seasons of your show, because clearly you guys aren't watching the show because Micah at one point, because Ethan is talking about, how hard it is for him to be here with Kim and all the emotions that he's working through. And Micah's like, oh, I don't know. Like, Kim loves Ethan unconditionally, so he should do the same. And I'm like, she doesn't. Does not love any of her kids unconditionally.
Yeah. No, she doesn't. And that was my point. Like, Ethan's gonna come back. I think we'll see Ethan move back to Cairo. I don't think Ethan will ever be able to unknow what he knows, what Olivia has cracked open inside of him, what he has seen. And I don't think he's going to be able to assimilate back into the Borg. I think he is going to have to leave again.
And this is so hard because I think on the one, I think for him, there's a part of him, I think he has a very much an internal conflict going on because part of him doesn't want to let go of the way he was raised.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like he can't unsee or unknow what he knows now. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know?
And like he has to be thinking somewhere inside, I have been around the queer community. They're lovely people. It's fine. Like
they're human beings.
You know what I honestly think? And do you remember the episode where Cody said that he was piping around on the internet, looking up divorce support and stuff like that, and he started to see really angry. I think he stumbled into the manosphere.
Right. Yes. Right? Yes. Yeah.
I think this happened to Ethan. I think Ethan was maybe seeking things out like, how do you get through a divorce? Or, you know what I mean? And this is where the manosphere just kind of crept in and pulled him in. Yeah. Yeah.
I see that. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think Olivia had him as close to the precipice of being an open-minded, open-hearted individual.
Another Coca-Cola, and we might have something here.
What is happening?
I know. Things I wish we could talk about. These are the things I want to talk about. I want to talk about what happened to the dance studio. I want to talk about Kim's DUI. I want to talk about the credit card story because that's actually like a really fucked up thing that happened that apparently was never supposed to be talked about on TV that Kim is trying to like sweep under the rug. But like, if I'm Olivia, that's all I'm going to talk about. So
Amanda and I, our episode drops. When is this going to drop? Today?
Yes, it'll drop.
Okay, so our episode will be out tomorrow. And we do a full breakdown of the credit card.
So she's already seen episode 4. So
yes. We do a full breakdown of the credit card scandal on that episode. So if you don't know what we're talking about, tune in and listen. And here's my biggest thing about the credit card. Kim never said, and she had plenty of opportunity. Producers interviewed her. She was in her talking head by herself. She never denied it. She never denied it. She just sat there with that smug look on her face and let her kids run around and deny it for her because she knows it's a lot. Like she knows the truth of what happened.
Yeah. And I don't care if it's a couple $100. I don't care. This is such a weird situation. Like your what was he like 16 at the time or something?
Well, no,
okay, I don't want you guys to drop any spoilers ahead of the next episode.
No, that's all right. We realized not everybody watched or knows what was happening with that, so we did a little TLDR of what happens with the credit card case. But so I want to say he had to be 18 because he had a credit card in his name.
Oh, that's true.
It was connected to an MLM that Kim was doing. And she was charging a bunch of shit and she wasn't paying it off. And Ethan was having to pay it off. And Olivia came in and said, no, we're going to stop doing this. Why are you letting your mom charge all this stuff on your credit card?
Wasn't it something that Olivia said, if we do the show, because Olivia didn't want to do the show at first, right. Or she didn't want to do the second season or something like that. And it was kind of like, you owe me like $900 or however much it was. And we're not doing the show unless you pay me. I heard something like that.
Well, and I think what was interesting is I didn't hear that, but I think what's interesting is Olivia often cites the credit card thing as the beginning of Kim not liking her. So like when she first was courting Ethan, Kim really liked her. She had Olivia doing the website for the family band. She was all over Olivia. And then the minute Olivia stood up to her and like kind of advocated for Ethan, that was it. That was the end of the relationship. Right. And that's when it broke.
It's really easy to forget, but in season 1, the only child deemed responsible enough to have internet access was Lydia. The only child deemed responsible enough to have a cell phone was Lydia. And then Lydia was caught talking to a boy. And remember how Kim went and read all her text messages? Like that bad mom move. That is
Yeah.
a bad mom move.
She was so controlling. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Controlling, but also weirdly hands off, right? So she had this set of rules.
She was
This is why
controlling and neglecting.
this is why I call her the emperor, because Kim always has other people doing her dirty work. So
Mhm.
she's like the emperor, like, I'm going to set all these rules up, but Lydia's going to be the one to enforce it on the younger kids. You know, everybody else enforces these rules. And it's really, really weird. She's like controlling, but hands off at the same time.
Yeah, it was so interesting to me when Lydia was saying how grateful she is that Mariah is back at home because she worries about Barry being by himself.
Yeah,
What?
she's parentified.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. It's interesting.
All those kids raised the younger kids.
Yeah, but it's weird how like they were like, ugh, Mariah, we can't rely on her. Let's go to Lydia. Like we had to
Yeah, and they like slut shamed Mariah for 2 full seasons because she wanted to like wear a skirt and like eat with the
pointed out that
chopsticks.
Mariah is talking about her like rebellious phase. Like you
Mhm.
were just being a teenager girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your parents kicked you out of the house for that.
Yeah. She wasn't like dying in the woods around a keg like we were at
You
that
weren't
age.
knocking over 7-Elevens. You
No.
weren't like
No.
you were
She
wearing
wanted to listen to like Michael Bublé and like wear a skirt.
right
and open-toed shoes.
It wasn't quite that. You wanted to wear red lipstick and wear nail polish and I don't know, have a Facebook. And that was like,
yep,
too much.
They threw her out of the house. They told her she had to leave. If she didn't want to abide by the rules, she had to leave.
At an age where she's not even an adult yet. She was like 16, 17 years old. That's crazy.
It's crazy. But these are her loving parents who take her back. And it's like, really? That's revisionist history. But that's what Mariah's an interesting case because I do feel bad for her.
Oh, I do too.
Mariah has to revise history in that way to be able to accept everything that happened. It's a protective factor. Yep.
Yet the way that she and Micah just turned on Olivia last season, I was like, whoa.
I talked about that this week too, because I think for Mariah, she has so much anger at Kim, but she can't put it on Kim because Kim's not safe for her. So she puts it on Olivia because Olivia's safe. Like deep down, Mariah knows she could call Olivia in the middle of the night and Olivia will be there. She knows that. Kim will not. Kim's love is conditional, and a kid knows that.
And that's so sad because that's your mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw at the end of episode 3, Ethan and Mariah are being interviewed together at the boat. And all I can think about is, do you remember when they were living together and they had like a whiteboard of like bills?
Oh,
and it said that Mariah owed like $8 or something. And I'm like, I wonder if she ever paid Ethan back.
Oh, well, she didn't, because remember, he came back, she moved out, and she like stiffed him. Right. He was like really pissed off about it.
I was going to say, Ethan is like, I bought you this Christmas present, but I deducted $8.
Ethan is so black and white. He's so black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an interesting case too. I mean, they're so interesting. And I feel like they're in ways they're more authentic with the camera than the Browns are. And I think that's why it's so interesting because they talk about the cult and the parents and this and that. And the Browns kind of just skirt around everything.
Yeah. And I would love to catch up. Like, Kim, where are you in your religious affiliation these days? Because that's another thing that we kind of skirt around with the Browns. Like, Cody says he doesn't feel polygamous anymore. He's monogamous, but he still knows polygamous, and he's going on Mormon podcasts. And like, so what do you believe now? Because you are a big time advocate of this lifestyle, and now your whole world has fallen apart. What do you believe? We know that Christine has left the faith, and Janelle still believes. But where does everyone else stand?
Yeah, when you look at a family like the Plaths, like the Browns, I feel like they didn't push that religiosity on their kids as much as the Plaths did. So
That's
like
true. Yeah.
imagine you grow up, you can't have Coca-Cola, you never saw a Disney movie, you know, whatever, all the things we talked about. And then one day your mother says, I don't think I'm buying this anymore. Never mind.
Yeah.
Like, at least with the Browns, they lived a semblance of a normal life. So, like, their parents leaving the church is like, okay, we get this.
Lydia, I'm like, dude, I've been living in a literal prayer closet. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me?
Can I come out of the prayer closet now?
Yeah.
The weirdest thing about the prayer closet is that she had pictures of her siblings up there. Like, she had Ethan and Olivia's like wedding picture in there. I'm like, what are you doing in that prayer closet?
Yeah. And remember, oh my gosh, Lydia, God bless her soul. Remember it was like, when the fight, when I thought we might get like a physical altercation
in the driveway.
Yeah. And then Lydia like freaked out.
That was peak hotness for Ethan. I just want to say that was peak. It's all downhill after that.
Dude is about to throw hands with his own dad. I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is the kind of TV I want. Especially because at that time, we still were only getting camping chair conversations with the Browns. I was like, the Plaths are bringing it. Like, everybody.
The Plaths are beating the shit out of each other in their own driveway. We're here for this.
Here for it. And so they catch like Lydia on a hot mic, like just like panic praying. And I was like, this poor girl.
I know. And then she's like, there's one season where she just wandered through the woods singing hymns.
Yeah.
Somebody might want to check on Lydia. Make sure she's okay.
Lydia I feel like she's the last true believer of the family. Like, I'd love to get a temperature on Barry. I mean,
I think Barry still believes. Don't forget he was baptizing Mariah last season.
Oh, that's true. What do you think? Because we see Mariah is like kind of outgrowing 16-year-old Mariah's style. So she's going through all her clothes. But Mariah is like tatted all over with being, I'm a unique rebel. What is the over under on in 5 years? She's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe what I did with the tattoo.
Yeah. I mean, no, again, she
love. She is like rebel.
She didn't have the guardrails around her to be like
stand me or whatever.
So it's interesting because my daughters will be 18 in a couple months and one of them wants to get tattoos.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know,
but you gotta be cool with whatever you get. It's gonna be on you.
Well, and here's the thing. So I said to them, just leave some space on your bodies for life events that may occur when you're past 18. Like I got my first tattoo for my grandmother's passing. It's a little spool of thread.
Oh,
she was a seamstress. I was 46 years old. I said to her, just, take up a little bit of space, but you're going to have, she wants kids. So I'm like, you're going to have kids. You're going to have a career. You're going to travel. You're going to get your heart broken. You're going to rebuild yourself. All these things that are going to happen to you. Don't fill up your entire body at 18 with all these tattoos. And that's what Mariah did. Like, like all this screams, okay, this is me when I was 18.
Exactly.
But where do I put anything else about things that occur down the road? Like, it's just a weird, I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it, but
my husband, I don't have any tattoos and I'm toying with getting one.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. I'm very indecisive. And so I feel like I'm going to get something and be like,
yeah.
Yeah. But my husband is totally the opposite. He has a bunch of tattoos. One he got at a party. He's like, it's not even that great of a drawing. It hasn't really aged that great, but whatever. It's tattoo. It's a story. Blah blah. Blah.
It's a story.
Casual about. And for me, I'm like, oh my God, but that's like on your body.
Yeah.
And so my husband has a philosophy that our kids, once they're 16, he will take them. If my mom is still alive at that point, that'll be a conversation. So anyways, I'm just like, Mariah, you just made all these like, you don't own me. You don't know me. Like,
she really just, and again, I think it comes from that frustration of I'm not working on what's in the inside. So I'm just going to change the outside as rapidly and as much as I can. because that's the only thing I have control over is my outside.
Commitment to being like, I as someone with no tattoos, I oddly enough really like the show Ink Master. And
I used to watch that.
I loved it. Now they've like rebooted it, but like back in the day, and there would be these very feminine women. Ryan Ashley, I think is her name. She is tatted up to her neck.
Yeah.
And it's her look, it's her aesthetic, and it works for her. So if Mariah wanted to commit to that, it could absolutely work for her, but it's a commitment to like, an aesthetic,
Yeah. And I could see like her being, 45 years old and looking at that Rebel and being like, well, this was a very important part of my life. This was an important time in my life. But like, what do all the other things mean? Just live life a little bit and see what happens.
So if I ever get a tattoo, well, I saw someone had like Live Laugh Lexapro, and I was like, I would get that, but I'm not on Lexapro. I'm on Prozac.
Okay.
So I was like, I could do Prozac Princess. But these are the things I consider. I would totally get an infinity symbol. Like I
think I would get like the Titanic, maybe the cover of Helter Skelter, like things I've been obsessed with as a teenager.
Yeah, but
that's a great example. I would have been covered in like cult and serial killer tattoos if I had tattooed my teen likes onto my body.
I saw something really cute. These sisters had their dad write their last name, and they got it tattooed on themselves because, if they get married and they change their last name, they have the way that their dad wrote their last name on their body. And I thought that was so cute. People think of all these like super meaningful, the spool that is so meaningful.
Yeah.
That's something that, deserves commemoration on your body.
I think we're going to take the girls when they're 18 and we're going to get a family tattoo, and it's going to be the Archer symbol for our last name, but they're also Sagittariuses, so it'll be a double meaning for them. So
that is really cool.
Yeah, I think we're going to all do it together.
That's cool. So
that'll mean something.
I said maybe I'll wait and get with my kids. I'll get it.
There you go.
Because I'm not good with needles. I'm not good with paint. My daughter has to take injections every 2 weeks. So I was thinking she'll probably end up wanting to get something to commemorate that. I don't know.
There you go.
Because she doesn't like shots. So maybe she'll get a needle.
Maybe we'll see Mariah try to like change the tattoos or Taylor Swift, Post Malone style, just try to cover them up all the time. I don't know.
Well, so last season, remember, she was trying to like spin the narrative that she was like a rebel for God.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down or what you're trying to do here. So yeah, she's trying to spin the narrative, but like, God, she just looks, I see her sitting there with the family doing their country folk music, like bluegrass.
Yeah.
And Mariah's just like, rebel.
Well, and you heard my rendition of Ethan's song. It was dark.
Really, I have a note here that says, Amy, when you brought out your guitar, I died. That was so good. Were we listening to Ethan or Johnny Cash? Like
I know.
Like
this is another thing. Like Barry and Kim are like, oh, the older kids turned out fine. Ethan is sitting there singing a song about wanting to die. And you think he's okay. And Barry's doing this. Barry's doing this like depression is just a visitor. No, this kid needs help. I know.
It's so these are probably the two, and it's interesting because my daughter was a newborn when Plathville premiered. So it's like I'm like, okay, what not to do? Don't homeschool and then like just totally abandon your kids' education.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there are certain people I would trust to homeschool my children. I would be a good homeschooler. I think I was a teacher for many years. I don't have the patience to do it.
Terrible.
Don't have the patience. However, Kim is not a good homeschool choice.
Kim literally said, I don't know if it was season 1 or season 2, like I tried, I got you guys the books, but you didn't like doing homework. So Ethan, you just like went out to the garage and fiddled with your cars.
Yeah. And we saw that Bill Goddard IBLP shit or whatever it is,
Mhm.
where he's writing the books and they're not teaching you anything that's right.
No.
So, yeah.
So, and it was so funny because my husband will every so often watch an episode of Plathville with me. And last season, Olivia was like begging Ethan to like call her when he
Yeah.
was going on a road trip or something.
Yeah. He
And
was going to work on his cars.
they're married. And she was like, "Will you call me?" My
Yeah.
husband's like, "I call you every 5 minutes." Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Because Ethan doesn't know, he doesn't understand social norms. He doesn't understand relational norms. He doesn't know how to act in a relationship. I mean, these guys literally held hands and then got married.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
And it really makes me sad because I think there was a genuine love between them, but it's a perfect example of love not being enough. When you are Olivia and you are trying to grow out of your trauma, Ethan represents trauma for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just needs to get as far away from that as possible. I saw in like the next time on, because I just rewatched season 3. For some reason, I thought Plathville was on Monday nights. It's on Tuesday nights. So I was like, I'll just rewatch season 3.
Yeah.
But I saw that we're going to get a meetup between Mariah and Olivia. And I'm like,
the most riveting 10 minutes of television, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, but I'm like, girl, Olivia, I hope you're protecting your mental health because this is going to be some rewriting of history. Do not get bamboozled by this family because Mariah has clearly had Kim chirping in her ear. And now she's spinning a whole different story.
It's so interesting too, because I did I almost said MapQuest. How old am I? I did the Google Map distance between Cairo and where Mariah works, which is Tallahassee, versus Tallahassee and Mark's Landing or wherever the hell they are. Mariah is choosing to drive an hour to work and back and she could live with Kim very easily and will not. Like, these older kids hate Kim. They hate her.
Yeah, it's clear that they have no relationship with her.
Nope.
It's wild. And it just them seeing the boat and then them talking about like, where do you go to the bathroom? Like, what? Yeah. And then another thing on the next time on that we see is Micah is going to be helping her with some mechanical stuff on the boat. And Kim has no idea what side is port side.
I mean, same.
I don't know either, but I don't
own one.
Boat.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like you're in Florida, though. You should be more boat adjacent than I am.
Yeah, I need to. And my husband grew up on boats, so he really wants to like get water toys and stuff. But I grew up. Did you ever see the show My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
No, but I've heard about it.
It's a good show. But anyway, she moves because she's following this guy that she has a crush on. And they moved to West Covina, California. And the funny thing about that show is they break out into song all the time. But anyway, they're like West Covina, conveniently an hour from the beach. And that's kind of like growing up in the San Fernando Valley was like an hour from the beach. So I didn't grow up on the beach or anything like that.
Yeah, but you were close.
Yeah. Oh, what was great about growing up in Southern California was I could literally, if I wanted to, which I never did, go surfing. I've never surfed, or snowboarding in the same day because the mountains are just right there. I did go snowboarding.
There's something about just knowing, like, I live 2 hours from the Jersey coast, and there's something about just knowing I could get to the ocean if I need to.
Yeah.
Versus like I spent the weekend in Pittsburgh because I was taking my kid college shopping, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like 10 hours from the ocean. Like, how do people live here? Like, it just feels weird. I don't know.
I know my brother went to college in Boston, and so I was a senior in high school, and we were moving him in, and at that time, that was 2004. Boston didn't have an IKEA. We had to drive to New Haven, Connecticut to go to IKEA. And I was like, how do people live without an IKEA? Like
I'm 2 hours from an IKEA.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is like, and I'm like, this is like Boston. Like they're supposed to be on like, and then I remember like a couple years later, them just advertising all throughout Boston that they were getting an IKEA. And I was like, finally.
But the Plaths, they're in a nice area of Georgia. It's like over the panhandle of Florida, right?
Okay, I'm terrible with geography. I'm Ace and Caitlin with geography.
It is, so Florida has the little panhandle, and I want to say Cairo is right above it. So it's almost in Alabama. It's kind of very close to Alabama.
Yeah, I know there's like the Floribama shore, and like, and it is shocking to me because I'm like, okay, Cairo's in Georgia. Like, so for me, being from California, there's no state that's just a nearby drive. That I mean,
that's true.
6 to 10 hours to go to Arizona.
See, I'm in Scranton, so I'm only like 35 minutes from New York.
Yeah, see, that is
like upstate New York.
Yeah, my grandparents live in Northern California. That's a 8-hour drive from Southern California. So like that's the kind of driving I'm used to, and where you don't even leave the state.
And that's another good point. If we're talking about the Plaths, they never would have traveled. They never would have traveled and gone anywhere.
I mean, I remember Lydia, who's been to like Florida and
on her mission trips,
been all over the world, and she's naming like within like a 6-hour radius of
But remember when Olivia wanted to take Mariah to San Francisco, was it?
Oh yeah.
And Barry and Kim were like, California's the devil. Like, no, we don't want you going out there and being corrupted by those liberal hippies. Like they were just not into it.
Yeah.
And Mariah saw California and was like,
the Bay Area is quite an experience. So yeah, she was gonna get a life lesson, but also you guys just kicked her out of your house, so you couldn't have been too concerned about her well-being.
Yeah. I don't know where they expected her to live. And I don't think they cared.
Like, going home to mom and dad is just one step above being homeless. Like I guess I can tolerate Barry. Kim's not there anymore, so I guess it's kind of okay, and I can do my laundry.
Isn't it sad that we're in a day and age when Barry Plath is the better choice here?
Barry Plath has had such a like when we started out this conversation, he has had such a redemption arc. Because obviously Kim is like the biggest villain, but he's not great. He is
not good, and we should not be lulled into thinking he's good. But I will say this is a masterclass in how to get back at somebody. Because he's just sitting back there like, I'm dad of the year. He never even lifted a finger with those kids before she left. Not that she was doing it either. Lydia was.
Right.
But it's
cooking dinner. Lydia was cooking dinner.
Yeah. But Barry's just sitting back like giving Kim all the rope she needs. Yeah. And how about when Ethan goes down on the boat? Now, this is the first time Kim is seeing Ethan in, I don't know, 2 years. And she's like, do you want to go to Ken's house?
Boundaries.
Stop trying to make Ken happen, because it's not. No.
And I'm so proud of Ethan for being like,
no,
not even a little bit.
No. That's why I really don't think Ethan is going to easily fold back into this.
Good. I'm glad. I've heard, I have not been on Ken's Instagram.
Oh, it's real bad.
It's all posting the little kids, right?
I can't speak to his Instagram. I apologize. It's his Facebook that was incredibly racist. And I'm not talking talking subtle racism like he's voting for this guy. No. This was like using slurs, like this was bad stuff.
Oh God, I didn't even know about that.
And he took it down. He took it down.
Well,
his whole profile,
but like probably should have never put it up to begin with.
Yep.
But I heard that like his Instagram was just, he doesn't have any photos of Kim, but all these photos of like the little girls. And I know they're not like little girls, but they're
little girls.
Yeah. And that was making people uncomfy. I also think that that's kind of weird. If these are your girlfriend's kids,
Yeah.
They're not your kids. Why are they all over your social media?
I really struggle with, and it's interesting because I think we're seeing this play out with the Browns. Like I really struggle with when I go back and watch those early seasons of Sister Wives, how much these people put their kids on TV and how we were all okay with that. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I put my girls were born 2006. I put them all over my Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. I'm not shaming
I
anybody.
post my kids on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they're not like the focal point of my content, but like,
right. But there are a lot of people out there who made like living off of their kids.
Yeah.
And McKelty does a lot of it.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And it, and it's so funny because in my videos on Sister Wives, I have railed against the Cody just monetizing his children and them not having anything to show for it.
Yep.
But then, we're James and I are rewatching the series, and I am like, I feel like such a hypocrite. My favorite episodes are the ones that are kid focused.
Yeah. Yeah. And if the kids were being paid,
dating episode from season 3 was like, I loved it. I loved like
we just covered that one too. That was good.
Yeah, these are like the best.
When Logan's like in the backyard with like a whole pool full of young women and Cody's like,
yeah. It's like, these are great. But then it's like, okay, you're not paying them. I kind of understand why the kids are like, yeah, we don't want anything to do with this show anymore.
Yeah. It's this interesting break when my girls were maybe about 14, maybe younger, maybe 12, where they suddenly became people. Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't this abstract concept of my children that I could just put all over the place.
13-year-old niece, and that is the age. Yeah, exactly.
It's suddenly they become people, and they're like, we don't want to be on your social media, and I'm like, okay, get it.
Yeah, and that's nice for them. It's nice to allow children to have. I commend a lot I know that like Kristen Bell and Dak Shepard, these celebrities who go out of their way to shield their children. I've even noticed because I just saw a picture of Eva Mendes and Ryan Gosling at the Olympics, and the TMZ blurred their kids' faces out. And I'm like,
good.
I was like, okay. I'm like, you know what? Society a lot of times I feel like is going to hell in a handbasket, but sometimes there's these things that I cling to for hope, and it's like, okay, we're protecting minors. What? Like,
I've even started, like, Amanda and I have this policy now when we cover, especially Love After Lockup. We don't say the kids' names anymore. We'll say this one's daughter, this one's kid, this young kid. Like, we just, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's something that just feels about it.
I learned that actually with the when I was following everything that was going on with the Ruby Frankie case. Like, people with that case, even though all of those kids are so public, everyone knows who the kids are and their names. When people would be talking about the story, they would refer to the minor children by like the first letter of their name as opposed to like their name, just to give them some privacy.
Some sort of privacy, yeah.
I thought it was really good in the Karen Reed case. I don't think that the niece and nephew should have ever been called to begin with, but the fact that they kicked the cameras out, they wouldn't. They told the people, the reporters in the courtroom, they couldn't even like tweet from their phones. They had to like handwrite notes. That's all they could do. And I was like, thank you. We are.
Could you imagine if you were like 15 and you already had this huge social media presence because your parents put you all out there? Like your parents put you on there, like crying about your first zit or having a weird reaction to wisdom teeth pulling or, throwing a fit when you're a little kid, like all that stuff. Like that just feels so weird to me.
Yeah, and we saw all of that with the Browns, and I feel really bad. And
in their defense, though, this has shifted, I feel, in the last couple of years. So I think when they started the show, that was still kind of a thing. We didn't understand the implications of it. I think we do now, and I think they do now.
The worst offenders were John and Kate +8 by far, because they were like Kate was horrible. At least Cody tried to put on like I'm a good dad in front of the camera, but Kate would like berate John. She would berate her kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm so uncomfortable. These kids are breaking down. And then that Vice documentary that came out like a year or so ago, like just detailing how much these kids were working. I'm like, oh my God, what did and John and Kate was my favorite show. When they got divorced, I was like, oh my God. And then,
I believed in their love.
Yeah. And then rewatching it, it's like, oh my God, Kate is horrible.
She's a monster.
I'm like, why was I like sad that they were getting—
No, I was into it too. Like, and again, this was a different time.
Yeah.
Like now we have the lens of history to see what happens with being too public on social media. We didn't then. So I don't really blame those guys. I blame people who are doing it now.
You know what?
We know better.
Gypsy Rose happens when you're too public on social media. You end up pregnant and you don't know who the father of your baby is.
To tie it all back around. Good job, Sarah.
Let this be a lesson, young people of America.
Yes. Oh, Gypsy's going to have that baby all over social media.
And she said, and that's the thing, she said she wasn't. And then she was like doing the little Doppler thing on her TikTok. So it's like, girl, you are going to get all of the sponsorships for all of the diaper genies.
Rob needs to get in there and intervene immediately.
You know, I don't even begrudge you that. That shit's expensive.
Sure.
But yeah, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. You know, we know what you're doing.
Rod can buy them a crib. He's trawling. He knows what he's doing out there in the boat.
Amye, thank you so much for
thank you.
Guys, Amye is a busy lady. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me. May seem like a couple of random topics, but it's bad moms. That'll be
bad mom. I'm here anytime you want to talk about these fundamentalist families. I'm here.
It's a wild ride. And Amye Archer, Little Miss Recap, tell people where they can find you.
We are anywhere you listen to podcasts. Go to littlemissrecap.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm all over the place. And if you saw my latest reel, I might even be on Grindr someday. Unclear.
Yes, I did see that. Yes, you guys, if you are listening to recaps like I was, Amye will literally take you to church and serenade you with her guitar. It is.
I will. I always have it ready. It's right here. It's always ready.
So much bang for your buck.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I love being here. I'll talk anytime.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amye.
Sarah's like, do you want to talk Gypsy Rose and Plathville? I'm like, what time? Where?
Yeah.
Put me in front of the microphone.
It might be kind of random, but I'm kind of really into this right now. So I just need to talk about it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
All right, you guys, take care. I will see you guys in the next video. And thank you, Amye.
Thank you.